Hey Virgos, welcome to my channel. This is going to be a general collective reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Alright, I met the most awesome Virgo person lately. I don't have many Virgos in my life, so let's see, Virgo, what's coming in for you. This is a general reading, so sometimes very specific messages come through, and if those don't resonate for you, Virgo, please don't make it fit. I am doing personal readings, so if you have a specific question you'd like to explore or a challenge that you're currently facing, my details are in the description box below. Okay, Virgo, let's see. Please and thank you, Spirit, for the sign of Virgo. Messages of love and light, negative energy must leave my space now for the immediate present. Oh, Virgo. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, Virgo. The Lovers. So, Virgo. Look, the Lovers can be the lovers, literally, or it can be a decision that you need to make. It is the card of Gemini, and Gemini, represents the twins. So it's two sides of a coin. It's possibly, perspectives that you need to look at, two different perspectives, two sides of a coin, a decision that needs to be made. It is major arcana, so this is big energy. If it is romantic, then this is a divine union, a divine partnership that is divinely blessed. But let's just see the other cards, Virgo, so that I can understand what the lovers are saying in context. I'm just going to pull 5 more cards. Oh, looks like there's a reunion happening here. Okay. Oh. Okay. The bottom of the deck, the Queen of Wands. I think this is your energy, Virgo. This is your energy. It's actually Aries energy, but in this reading, the Queen of Wands is representing your magnetism and the one that got away, because this has turned out, it looks like it could be a love reading for you today. It was meant to be a general check-in, but some of you might be experiencing, this is the strongest message that has come through today. So let's get into it. This is your magnetic energy that they are missing here. So it looks like there was, a meeting, a relationship of sorts. One or the other, either you or your person had to move away. And I feel like there is a period of separation here. And it could be due to, I just heard, your person's stubbornness, or even your stubbornness, Virgo. Why I'm saying this is that the 3 of Wands showed up, which is a card of waiting for your ships to come in. I feel like there hasn't been communication. I feel like there's been some travel. Maybe your person actually, went on a trip where there was no communication after that, after they left. This could be you, Virgo. Take it as it resonates. You can flip the script. But I'm going to read it from where I'm sensing it from. And I feel like this is your person. I feel like your person probably didn't recognize the intensity or the strength or the the weight and the importance and the divinity of this connection, and chose to walk away or chose to have this be a missed opportunity. And that's why I say the Queen of Wands energy, the first thing that came into my mind was the one that got away. I think your person is having a change of heart now, Virgo, and wants reconciliation with you, wants reunion with you, wants to meet and talk about what happened, because they do sense now that this was a missed opportunity, that they lost something that was actually really important to them, that fulfilled them, and that supported them in a way they haven't felt supported before. Um, this is, the card of community as well. So you or your person could be consulting with family members or with friends, with your social circles, your sister circles, your tribe, to understand, what has gone down in the connection and why it has broken down, and why it is that your person has been blind to this all along. I do feel that, Virgo, you knew from the beginning, or you could have known from the beginning, that this is your match, this is your person. And I sense that they needed time to integrate, or to understand the same thing. And it's good that you were able to give them their space. I do feel like you respected their space and you respected them moving away for a while in order to miss you and to realize that, this is a connection that they would like to invest in and not something that they want to lose. I do have a feeling that you tried to convince your person, Virgo, that this was something worth fighting for, that it was a connection that, you've never experienced before. There's a level of telepathy as well between the two of you. It's just a passionate connection that, you don't come across every single day. These soul connections, especially with the Lovers card. And you could be dealing with the Gemini, but with the Lovers card here, I do sense that it's the person that you are dealing with, if this does resonate for you, is very different from your usual type. And that tends to happen with deep soul connections, is there's this energy match that's undeniable. And it's usually from, someone you least expected to have an energy match with or a connection to. It's taken a while for your person to realize this, though, and I feel like it's because they were also processing or going through their own karmic cycles. And what's interesting about the karma card is sometimes, we can be in a connection with someone, and they have not yet integrated their lessons, or they are clinging on to a past relationship, or a past breakup, a past divorce even. And this can lead to a disruption in your connection because they haven't processed all the lessons that needed to be learned from previous connections, from previous hurt. That saying, if you don't heal your wounds, you'll bleed onto others. And I think there was a lot of projection going on in the relationship because of what your person has been through. They almost expect, the same kind of narrative to play out with you as it has done with other relationships. I'm feeling like they don't really trust love. There's a guardedness there, and there's a fear of vulnerability and a fear of investing into something because they already fear that you will be a flight risk for them, and they are afraid of losing you. In fact, they have sleepless nights about it. They have sleepless nights about love in general. I sense that this person really does, deeply want to connect and be in an intimate connection. But we cannot do that unless, we are willing to face our demons and to face what it is that keeps us from showing up fully, from investing fully, from being emotionally available. Actions do speak louder than words, and energy does speak louder than words. So your person might think they are emotionally available, but deep down inside, they actually subconsciously, their actions are driven by subconscious wounding or cycles or past, experiences that they haven't yet dealt with. And what happens then is, you can become physically, mentally, emotionally at dis-ease because of withholding onto emotion or withholding emotion. Pretending something doesn't exist actually physically eats away at you. And it can result in, autoimmune flare-ups, like rashes or asthma, especially asthma because you're holding emotion in the heart space, in the throat space, so it's constriction of breathing, acid reflux, gout, acid buildup in the body. In fact, it's a scientific fact that if your tears are not released, they actually crystallize in the body. That's salt water. So it's really important to release emotion and to not be afraid of that. There's a vulnerability. There's a vulnerability in that, and people tend to associate vulnerability with weakness and with dwelling, but it's not that. It's being courageous enough to admit where you are hurting so that you can release it and move on. It doesn't define you. It doesn't become, a label. If you name the emotion, it doesn't mean that it's going to get stuck to you. But it's important that emotions are named so that we are able to process them. Journaling, I heard journaling. This is also why journaling is important. If you haven't started already, Virgo, I used to be lazy about journaling, but I've recently picked it up again. And it's amazing, if you don't censor your writing, it's amazing the insights that you pick up about your relationships, about yourself, about life in general that you wouldn't have otherwise noticed, patterns that you wouldn't have otherwise noticed if you hadn't expressed them in a literal way, like pen to paper. And it really is uncensored writing. So don't censor your subconscious, don't censor what's coming up for you. Put it all down on the page and see what comes through. And you'll find, a lot of your subconscious beliefs, limiting beliefs, the things that that navigate you. It's almost like an automatic GPS system in your nervous system and in your emotions that you don't even realize what's happening, but this is what's driving you. This is what's causing you to choose certain things or to work in a certain way, make decisions in a certain way, choose relationships in a certain way. We think we're being conscious about it, but most of the time it is driven by beliefs that we are not even aware of, consciously aware of. So try and do some journaling, Virgo. I just want to get an overall card for the situation and then an oracle card for you, Virgo, before I end this reading. So overall card of advice for Virgo. Okay, so it is a card of Virgo is working on yourself. I think, yeah, I heard working on yourself. Usually this card represents working on your craft, being consistent, showing up. My grandfather always used to say, if you sit in the same place every day at the same time, because I used to study a lot. I used to be in my room at my desk, pouring through text, for my degree, my undergrad and my postgrad. That's all I remember, even throughout high school. And he said, there were a few synchronicities that happened where I was pressed for time, and I would have had to choose what to leave out and what not to leave out while I was studying, because there was just no ways I was going to get through all the material, especially when they jam-packed the examinations into 1 week. And I had a few times, what happened was what I studied came out in the paper, and what I didn't study did not. It was just magic. And my grandfather, when I was sharing that with him, he said to me, when you sit in the same space or the same place, and in the universe can see that you're working on your craft, that you are consistent, that your intent is well-meaning, that you are committed to this, then it rises up to support you, and you will get downloads through ether, which is the fifth element. And ether is like, a radio frequency. It is an energetic frequency. And he said he believes, this is how the greats received their downloads. Einstein with E equals MC squared, the theory of relativity. It didn't happen overnight. It was this consistency and this commitment and this belief in yourself. And I think you've been doing a lot of this work, Virgo, and they're saying to continue to do that. And as you continue to do it, and I'm just seeing this crow here, because crows represent messages from the spirit world. And that is exactly, the story I shared now. I don't always share personal stories in that way. But it is the ether, it is, the downloads that you are getting. Trust that. Trust your intuition as well, because Virgo, you are the perfectionist. Look how she's polishing that pentacle. All of those pentacles need to be of exactly the same dimension, with exactly the same engraving on it. Nothing can be off center. They all have to be shiny. She's working late into the night in order to do that. I think you're releasing a part of your perfectionism as well, because it can cause you anxiety, Virgo. This perfectionism can cause anxiety because you cannot simply, practically, realistically, there is no ways you can uphold perfection 24/7, 365, every single day of your life. They're saying to reframe your definition of what perfection means. And sometimes it's 80%. Today it might be 40%, because that's all you have to give. And I feel like, with the relationship as well, you can want everything to look a certain way, or what fits the mold of what you believe a perfect relationship to be, a perfect partner to be. But that again, to journal and to understand where that comes from. Is it coming from a place of vision and desire and true manifestation for what you want and what's for your highest good? Or is it coming from conditioning, societal expectations, societal norms? And, we can miss a lot of opportunities. We can miss a lot of opportunities in this way, Virgo, when we have a rigid definition or expectation of what love should look like, or what a partner should look like. So, wow, I've never got that from the Eight of Pentacles before, but journal, Virgo, is what I'm feeling to tell you is going to be important. All right, go within. Let's get an oracle card for you, my Virgos, and then we shall end this reading. That is a very, I feel like I feel like there should be something more, but they're saying no, keep it short for the Virgos. Okay, Oracle card for Virgo, please and thank you. Shaolin Master. Shaolin Master. Be graceful in movement and action. I think the one way, and this is the, the conundrum or the tension between rigidity and flexibility, is you need some level of rigidity in order to be flexible. If you think of the Shaolin monks and, the martial arts that they do, it's graceful and it flows. Okay, but if you compare it to something like MMA or Jiu-Jitsu or the more rigid martial arts like karate, where you have to learn a kata in a certain way and you have to say us-sensei when your sensei says something, or you have to stand in a certain way and wear your gi, otherwise you can't enter the dojo, and be barefoot and go through all in this progression of belts. That's the one, end of the spectrum. And the other end is once you master that, once you've mastered the discipline of it, which is the Eight of Pentacles, you can then create your own iteration and your own version of that art. The praying mantis is also symbolic of spirituality and spiritual messages. And it signifies, going within and praying and being able to, and he's suspending that ball in mid-air with his mind. So it's about controlling the mind, Virgo. It's about, and this is where the anxiety can also, where that message could also be leading to, is overthinking and needing to control everything around you is what causes anxiety, because anxiety is when we are worried about the future. And this is a lesson that I am learning. It's one of my biggest lessons, is that I don't have full control over what's going to happen in the next hour, the next minute, or tomorrow. I can only do what I can do within my space, within my control, and allow the universe to bring me whatever it needs to bring me. There's no controlling that. And once we surrender to that understanding, the anxiety eases and we become more graceful in how we flow through life, in our movement and in our action, more flexible and more graceful. And Virgo, Virgo season is one of the most difficult seasons for me, because I can literally feel the switch in my body. And everything in my home, in my environment, starts to irritate me. Like nothing seems to be in place. I want everything to be perfect. I start working on the nerves of everyone around me, because I get antsy if, something is out of place or things don't go according to plan. And that can be your energy, Virgo. So just be mindful of that. And be mindful of how, you flow, and allow others to flow as well, because sometimes we can project that need for perfection and that desire for perfection onto our loved ones as well, and our colleagues and our work environment. And that causes unnecessary stress. We have to meet people where they are. And this is going back, I think, to your, relationship. If this is a relationship that you're dealing with, is to have some grace for the other person, because we've already picked up that they are not your usual type, and that they are quite different from your, your norm. So don't try to make them fit into the norm, is what I'm feeling, Virgo. Allow them to be with grace as well in their own movement and action, so you can flow around each other with ease rather than, trying to flow in a box. So I hope this message helped, Virgo. If you'd like, a personal reading or to deep dive, reach out. I'll be honored to connect with your energy, and sending you so much love with this. Till next time.